Hello everybody and welcome back to Dollar Tree Dinners. My name is Rebecca and we are almost a week away from Thanksgiving, so it is now time to do my annual Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinner. I say annual, but I've really only done one and it didn't really turn out that great, but then I did a Christmas dinner that turned out a lot better. And of course I don't have long format videos of either of those, so this will be my first year doing a kind of long format holiday dinner with only Dollar Tree ingredients. Just some basics. I only shop at one Dollar Tree on one day. I make do with what they have or I do without. I try to come up with some creative substitutes at times. Everything has to be budgeted in with the exception of oil, salt, and pepper. So if I don't have it, I can't use it. If it's not budgeted in, I can't use it. With that being said, I did shop at Dollar Tree this morning and had a few limitations as to what I could buy, but that's okay. We're gonna work around it. Now, I do want to mention that I may be doing more than one Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinner this year because I actually have two near me. And so I think it would be interesting to do a second one with the other store that's near me and then compare the two and kind of pick the best parts of each of them, because your Dollar Tree inventory is going to be different from mine. So maybe you can make a better Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinner than the one I'm gonna come up with. I love to hear you guys' suggestions down below. So let's go ahead and show you what I got for $20. So let's not only talk about what I got, but also why, because you might have some questions on a couple of items here. Starting off with our main course, I have some of these country ham biscuit slices, and I did buy 4 of those, which was a pretty hefty chunk of my budget, so that's about $5 right there. The reason I got these was because I had intended to get deli ham, which would have been 8 ounces per package, and I would have only needed 2 of those, but unfortunately they didn't have any. So I had to get these instead, and because they're only 3 ounces, I needed 4 of them. So that was an extra $2.50 that I wasn't really expecting to spend. Also with the green beans, I would have gotten a frozen bag of green beans, which comes with a lot more, but they were also out of that. So I had to get French style green beans in the can, and I need 2 of these. So that was another $1.25 that I wasn't expecting to spend. But we did get a package of instant mashed potatoes, Buttery homestyle, a box of macaroni and cheese. We have fried onions and cream of mushroom soup, milk, a graham cracker pie crust, cream cheese, chocolate jello pudding, margarine, and a packet of gravy. It isn't entirely ideal, but it's one of those work with what you got situations, and that is why I think I might do 2 or even maybe 3 Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinners, because I feel like this one's gonna be good, but I feel like that there could be potentially a better one if I shop at a different store. Each store has their own caveats, because while this store had, didn't have the deli ham in stock, the other store might not have the mashed potatoes or something like that. So it's always thinking on the fly and coming up with substitutions for things, or kind of cutting back on some other things to make room for certain things. Like I could have did without the margarine and the milk as I did last year, but I wanted to make a really good Thanksgiving dinner, not just an okay one. So I did calculate those into the budget this go around. Let's get started, shall we? I am actually going to be starting with the dessert this go around because it needs to set in the fridge, and we're going to be making something of a no-bake chocolate cheesecake. So this is where the graham cracker pie crust, the pudding mix, the cream cheese, and the milk, some of the milk comes into play. I went with chocolate just because that was the only flavor that they had, but feel free to use banana or lemon, vanilla, any flavor you can get. They only had chocolate, so that's what we're going to do, and that's totally fine. My cream cheese has been softened to room temperature. And lately I find that the only way I can open up these packages of this specific cream cheese is by cutting it open. For some reason, the peel tab on the top there really hasn't been working for me lately. 1 block of softened cream cheese into a bowl. I'm gonna give this a good whip with the mixer. Now I'm gonna be adding in 1 cup of milk, but I'm gonna do it a little bit at a time so it doesn't break our cream cheese. We do want it to be like smooth and creamy. So I'm just gonna add in a little bit, maybe like 1/4 of it at a time, and mix that in. Every now and then stop and scrape down the sides of your bowl to make sure you're getting all that cream cheese mixed in. You don't want any chunks in your cheesecake. And then now is where I'm gonna start adding in the milk a little bit at a time, whipping it well to combine, and I'll just repeat that cycle until all the milk is mixed in. Again, checking the sides of the bowl for any rogue cream cheese. And then lastly, you're gonna whip in our chocolate pudding mix. I whipped that until it was creamy, which was about 3 minutes or so. I did see apple pie filling earlier this season at Dollar Tree, and I was intending to get some of that. So that might be one of the other Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinners I'm planning to do. If they have the apple pie filling in stock, I might be able to do some kind of a pie. But I also kind of wanted to integrate some no bake options, no oven options into this Thanksgiving dinner. So this is a no bake cheesecake kind of dessert. If you have the budget to get some Cool Whip or some kind of a whipped topping, you certainly can. This pie is not going to be super duper full, but we can at least work it up the side so that all the graham cracker is covered. The plastic shell that your pie comes with is the lid. You do have to just remove the label, any adhesive, give this a quick wash, and now we can cover our pie and set it in the fridge to chill. And this will be ready by the time dinner is ready. You can even prepare this the day in advance. Let's move on over to the stovetop because, as I mentioned, we're doing this as a no-bake Thanksgiving dinner. So we are going to be making our green bean casserole on the stovetop, not in the oven. And for this, all we need are the green beans, the cream of mushroom soup, and the fried onions. I contemplated for this Thanksgiving doing a made from scratch Thanksgiving dinner, which might be one of the Thanksgiving dinners that I do this year, because I already bought things like milk and margarine and things like that. If I had gotten like flour, I probably could have made the green bean, the cream of mushroom soup from scratch. If you look back on my archives, I do have a made from scratch version of a green bean casserole using only Dollar Tree ingredients. That is not what we are doing today, but if you guys want to see potentially a made from scratch Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinner, that might be something that we can arrange. I don't know what the budget would be for something like that because I'd have to work in a lot of extras, but we can do what we can if that's something you want to see. Into my pot here, I have added 2 cans of green beans that have been drained along with my can of cream of mushroom soup, and I'm just gonna let these heat together. That's all I'm really doing here. Switch over to a stirring spoon rather than just my kitchen spoon. If stuffing is my favorite part of Thanksgiving, then green bean casserole is like my number 2, which is very interesting to say because I didn't actually have it until I was in my mid-20s, I want to say. This was not something that my mom made for any of my childhood Thanksgiving dinners. It was something that I had as an adult at other people's Thanksgiving dinners, and I really fell in love with it. Once it's heated through, I'm going to transfer it to a baking dish. I'm not going to be baking it because I'm not using my oven for this Thanksgiving dinner, but I am transferring it to a baking dish so I can use this pot for other things because I also like to minimize dishes if I can. And then this is a 2.8 ounce bag of fried onions. If you don't do your shopping at Dollar Tree and you don't intend on making a Thanksgiving dinner from Dollar Tree, at least get the fried onions at Dollar Tree. They're so much cheaper than anywhere else, and they're delicious. They're perfect. This is the point where you would bake this. These fried onions are already crispy, so if you don't have an oven, then don't worry about it. You don't have to bake it necessarily. Moving on to the mashed potatoes. Typically you only need 2 cups of water to prepare these, and that's how I usually do, but since I have milk and margarine, we can make them a little richer. Into my pot, I added 1.5 cups of water. I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of milk and 2 tablespoons of margarine. And I'm gonna let that come up to a boil. And then we can whisk in our mashed potatoes, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'm gonna turn off the heat so it doesn't bubble over. These are the Buttery homestyle instant potatoes. Preferably, I probably would have used like roasted garlic or something like that, but this was all they had beyond 4 cheese. And because a part of me was contemplating doing a made from scratch Thanksgiving dinner, I had a couple of options regarding the potatoes. The canned diced potatoes have a recipe on the can for mashed potatoes, so I could have done that, or I could have done any of my like frozen French fries that I've used as potato substitutes a lot of times. So I definitely was contemplating some homemade mashed potatoes. These are just as good as homemade, honestly. They're really good. I love this Buttery homestyle. Like I said, I would have preferred garlic or something, but I'm gonna cover that and set it aside. And next up, we're gonna work on the mac and cheese. We have all made macaroni and cheese, but I can guarantee you that you've probably never made it the way I'm about to. And I'm gonna tell you that this is the only way that I will make boxed macaroni and cheese from now on. Into my pot, I'm gonna add the noodles straight from the box, along with 1.5 cups of water, a half cup of milk, and 2 tablespoons of margarine, along with the cheese powder. And this all goes together all at one time. And we're gonna give this a mix. It's gonna look clumpy at first, and there's no heat being applied right now. Then I am going to turn the heat on to medium high-ish, and let this come up to a boil. I'm gonna stir it every once in a while, and the cheese will start to kind of dissolve, and the sauce will become nice and creamy. It's only been a couple of minutes since I turned on the burner, and as you can see, the cheese is already a lot smoother and creamier. This is the thick and creamy mac and cheese, but you can use any of them as long as it's at least a 7-ounce box. I wouldn't use one of the 5-ounce boxes. You would have to adjust the ratio. Once she is bubbling and boiling, give it a stir and then lower the heat down to low and let it simmer for 8 minutes, stopping to stir to make sure it is not sticking. I'll stir it like 2 to 3 times in that 8-minute period. The macaroni and cheese is done, and as you can see, this is really thick and creamy, delicious way to make macaroni and cheese. No straining required. I think that's kind of my favorite part about it. We're gonna set this aside, and it's time for the main course, which is the ham. Now, I'll be entirely honest with you. I have never actually had these ham slices from Dollar Tree. They are country ham, so there's a chance they're gonna be quite salty. I am kind of working on the assumption that they're gonna be salty because they're country ham. But we are gonna do the best that we can with them. Again, I've never had them before, so hopefully they are good. I will, of course, be honest in discussing whenever I do the final review and taste test and talk about things I would have done differently. I will be entirely honest about how these ham slices are. First, if I can get them out. They are vacuum sealed. They look pretty standard, just like regular ham. And I was thinking that there would be about 2 slices in each. Let's see. Trying to separate them, but it's kind of hard to tell a distinction between them. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. So what I'm going to do is kind of off camera, I'm going to separate these all into their individual slices, which actually, you know, we've got some pretty good pieces here. It's not really slices so much as it is kind of chunks. And the reason I wanted to get these, they do have a ham trimmings as well, but the trimmings looked like it was more like fatty end bits. I did want a nice, like a nice bit of meat. I'm on the last package here, and I will say that overall, I'm actually really happy with the quality of the ham. And I'd say that the hardest part is just kind of getting them out of the packages. But otherwise, they separated really nicely. They're nice thin cuts of ham, and they do seem to be pretty good quality. Now, again, these are country ham, so they are cured in a brine. So the first thing I want to do is remove that. So I have a ice bath or a bath of cool water, and I'm going to dunk my ham in the cool water. Again, this is just to help to remove some of that excess salt and brine, and I'll probably rinse the ham in ice water maybe 2-3 times. You can already see that the water, it's kind of hard for you guys to see at this angle, but the water is already starting to look a little milky. So that's some of that excess salt kind of coming off the ham. This isn't going to take me very long, maybe 5 minutes or so, but I feel like it's an important step in making this ham more ham-like and less country ham-like. This is what the water looks like after bath number 1. And here we go for the second wash. That is after bath number 2. The water is looking a lot cleaner at this time, so I think 1 more and we should be good. This is what our water is looking like after bath number 3. So now over on the skillet, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil along with 2 tablespoons of margarine, and I'm gonna heat this up. I'm also gonna be mixing my turkey gravy in 2 cups of cool water. For anybody who is new here, I recommend mixing the gravy in cool water as it is a cornstarch-based gravy. and it will clump up if you mix it in hot water. I'm gonna start pan frying up the ham pieces, get some color on them. I'll lower the heat down a little bit here. Kind of pick up some of those little bits off the bottom. The ham is looking really lovely, actually. And I'm gonna finish off the ham by cooking it the rest of the way in the gravy. Let that ham and gravy kind of thicken up all together as one. And then we're gonna transfer this into a plate for serving, or platter for serving. I don't have like a gravy boat or anything, so I'm just gonna have the gravy maybe in a bowl separately. I mean, I could just pour it over the ham, but I kind of want it separate. Let's go with one of these festive fall themed bowls that I got from Dollar Tree. Try to get all that goodness out of there. And then one last thing, just because my potatoes and my macaroni have been sitting for a while, I feel like they might need just a little bit more milk to thin them out. So that's what I'm gonna do real quick. I covered them so that they stayed warm while we were preparing everything else. Yeah, definitely need a little more milk in that macaroni. And I'll add a little bit more into the potatoes too, because these look a little thick for me. I tend to like my instant mashed potatoes a little thinner. Same for the macaroni. Just need to give that a stir just to rehydrate it because it's been sitting for a little while. This is especially kind of common practice for me because I'm filming, so it takes me a little bit longer to do things than it would normally take because I have to stop and move the camera around and things like that. But I did want to make the best possible Thanksgiving dinner that I could from Dollar Tree, and I hope I have succeeded in that. I believe now is the fun time where we get to plate it up and try everything. Let's start with the sides. So we're gonna do mashed potatoes, and I have 4 plates here just to show you that this is a dinner for 4. Next we have our macaroni and cheese, green bean casserole, and our ham and gravy. Which I think I have a pretty hefty portion per person here. And we can finish it off with a drizzle of our turkey gravy over our potatoes and our ham. That is our Dollar Tree $20 Thanksgiving dinner for 4. We still have dessert, of course, but that's off to the side. We need to try this first, and then we'll try the cheesecake last. So shall we dig into our Thanksgiving dinner here? I am, of course, going to start with the green bean casserole because I don't have stuffing, and this is my second. Green bean casserole is so simple and so perfect. It doesn't need to be messed around with. It's literally just 3 ingredients, and that makes it absolutely perfect. You can add some salt and pepper if you want, but I personally like it just the way it is. Next up, we have our creamy macaroni and cheese. I know some people don't like their food touching, but to me, some of the fun is when some of the mashed potatoes gets mixed into the macaroni and cheese or the green bean casserole and things like that. And mixing mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese is so good. All right, now on to the mashed potatoes and gravy by themselves. That roasted turkey gravy is really nice. It has a lovely rich flavor to it. It is a tad bit on the salty side, but that could be because I cooked it with the ham, which I anticipate is going to be still a little salty. I contemplated getting brown sugar to help cut some of the salt in the ham, but ultimately I couldn't really figure out another use for the brown sugar, so I didn't want to give up an item just to be able to buy brown sugar without having more than one potential use for it. So let's go ahead and try our ham. She's salty. It is still salty. It's not as salty as it would have been if I hadn't rinsed it a couple times, so I'm grateful that I did that step because I almost didn't. I wasn't sure if I could just eat it as is, but I'm glad I rinsed it because it is still a little on the salty side, but it's cut back considerably. And I think once you pair it with like the mashed potatoes, that will balance out the salt a good bit. Overall, I have to say this is actually a really lovely Thanksgiving dinner and a massive improvement from the Thanksgiving dinner that I made last year, which was good but not great, and there were a few elements to it that I didn't really like, and I wanted to really improve upon that this year, and I am truly very happy with this Thanksgiving dinner. I don't want it to be my only Thanksgiving dinner. I do want to try the second one, maybe even a third, but overall, I would rate this one an 8 out of 10. I think it's great. I wish the ham was a little less salty. I wish I could have gotten deli ham instead of this country ham, but we make do with what we can find. So let's try our chocolate cheesecake. So whether I do end up making 2 or maybe 3 Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinners this year, I think it would be interesting to then finish it off with like a review of all of them. I can't do it side by side, obviously, but I can reflect on all of them and talk about what my favorite and least favorite parts of each one was, so that then potentially I can give you suggestions for how to make the best Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinner within reason, depending on your Dollar Tree's inventory. I always struggle with getting pie out of these crusts, so hopefully we can get a semi-decent slice. The crust is always a bit on the crumbly side for me, but we'll do the best that we can. The first slice is always going to get mangled just from taking it out, but it does look lovely and it's fully set. Time for our no-bake chocolate cheesecake. It's so rich and thick and lovely and sweet, and kind of the perfect conclusion to a Thanksgiving dinner, in my opinion. It's not a pumpkin pie, but pumpkin pie is a little overrated at times. Anyways, I think this is great. And it was only a handful of ingredients. It only cost about $5 to make. It's not as cheesecakey as a cheesecake would be, but it will scratch that itch. It is satisfying. I really enjoy this. I hope you guys enjoyed this Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinner for $20, and every ingredient that you have is one less thing you have to buy, making this even cheaper if you already have milk, if you already have margarine, if you already have mac and cheese or green beans in your pantry. The maximum that you would spend is $20, and that's my favorite part about it, is that you can make it cheaper, but I'm trying to make sure that you spend no more than $20 to make a meal like this, and honestly, it turned out great. It really did. I was impressed by the ham more than I thought I would be, because I thought it would be inedibly salty, and it was still salty, but it wasn't inedible. It was still good, and I still enjoyed the dinner. I'm excited to potentially do a second one in a couple days. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you again soon.